Hi, Bishop Barron. My name is Cecilia. I'm 11 years old and I live in Massachusetts. When Jesus was in the wilderness, he was tempted by the devil. I would like to know, why would God allow the devil to exist? Thank you for your time.
Wow, great question. I like the fact that you use the word allow. That's the right word. So people say, how come God created the devil? Well, God didn't create the devil, meaning God didn't create an evil being. God permits evil, we say, to bring about some greater good. So let's look at the devil.
Welcome back to the Word on Fire show. I'm Brandon Vaught, the host, and I'm here with the Auxiliary Bishop of Los Angeles, who leads the region of Santa Barbara, Bishop Robert Barron. Bishop Barron, good to see you.
Hey, Brandon, always a joy to see you.
Now, this episode is going to air in early June. We're recording it in mid-May, and this happens to be the exact day that we're releasing your long-anticipated Sacraments film and study program. I know we've been talking about it for a while. You filmed it almost a year ago, so it's been a year in production, getting all the videos and the study materials made. But I think all of us here are especially excited that it's being released now at a time when the sacraments are unavailable for a lot of people. Talk about why the timing of this seems to be a bit providential.
Yeah, and who would have guessed that, right? When we were filming this back, I think it was October. Who would have guessed we'd be going through this time? Super proud of this video. It looks beautiful. We filmed these 6 talks back in October in a beautiful church in Hollywood. And Spirit Jew Studios put it together. They always do a fine job. And it's the one, Brandon, as you know, that was a direct response to what the people of God told us. When we asked them, hey, what would you like us to do for our next video? And the overwhelming response was something on the 7 sacraments. So this was our response. And yeah, my hope is that as the hunger for the sacraments has increased during this strange time, this might be a particularly good moment to reflect on them more profoundly.
Now, let me encourage everybody to go to the website wordonfireshow.com/sacraments. You can watch a sample episode from the series and then learn more about how to get access to the rest of it. We, of course, have it available as a DVD set, so you can buy that, bring it home, watch it with your family. We also have a streaming version, so you can either rent it or buy it online. But I especially want to encourage parishes to consider buying access for your entire parish. We've seen hundreds of parishes do this through our Engage platform. I won't go into all the details of Engage, but you can find it at engage.wordonfire.org. We've teamed up with Flocknote, which is the premier Catholic emailing, texting, communication tool, and we've leveraged our content and their tool to allow you to evangelize all the people in your parish, even people that don't show up for Mass. And the sacraments is a part of that. We have a new mini course that we've prepared where it has pre-written emails, text messages, video clips, everything all done for you. So you just hit a couple buttons and send it out to your entire parish. So while they're at home, they can still watch this new series from Bishop Barron. So check it out, engage.wordonfire.org. All right, Bishop, today we're getting back to one of our favorite types of episodes, and that's our kids Q&A. I remember way back several years ago, my kids were with me when we came and did a trip out to California, and we sat around in the studio there with you.
It was right next door here in the studio.
Yeah, right behind you there. And it was, we weren't planning to do it. We kind of just said, hey, let's see what happens. And the kids asked all sorts of goofy questions. But then people from all over the world started sending in questions from their kids, and we got dozens and dozens and thought, hey, let's do an episode. And from there, it turned into sort of a bi-monthly feature. And now our repository of questions from kids, I had like 100 questions in there to choose from. So if you sent them in, we can't get to all of them on each episode, but I'm trying to work my way through them. Please keep sending them in. You can do that at askbishopbarron.com. The questions are so innocent, but so insightful. I think Bishop Barron and I are both struck by how thoughtful and probing a lot of these questions from young kids are. So let's start off here. This one is from Dominic. He's 10 years old, and he's asking about Jesus' death. Here it is.
Hi, Bishop Barron. My name is Dominic Dugavito, and I'm 10. I was wondering if there's a reason why Jesus died on the cross rather than some other death. Thanks.
Wow, what a good question. Could Jesus have come among us and lived to be, 75 and died of old age yeah, I suppose that was possible. As the great theologians, Dominic, think about this question, they say something like this. Jesus came to enter fully into our human condition, what it's like to be a human being. And Jesus entered into our own weakness. He entered into our own sickness, our own fears, even the fear of death. And he died in this particularly terrible way. So, especially in Jesus' time, that was about the worst death anyone could imagine, is death on a cross. St. Paul says that. He accepted even death on a cross. So I think it might represent God's journey into all that we suffer from, his journey into all the darkness of the human condition, which means not just death and the fear of death, but physical pain, psychological pain. Think when Jesus said, even God, my God, why have you abandoned me? Well, that's entering into some of the worst suffering that we can feel as human beings. So I think that's maybe the best way to get at it, is God wanted to show us how thoroughly he loved us by taking on all of our pain. And I think that's what the cross means.
Great question, Dominic. Next up, we're going to hear from 3 kids in Pennsylvania, and I'm pretty sure they're siblings. They didn't say for sure, but I think they're 3 siblings from Pennsylvania. The first one is a 6-year-old girl named Molly, and she's got a great question about other planets. Here it is.
Okay.
Hi, Bishop Barron. My name is Molly, and I'm 6 years old. I live in Pennsylvania, and my question is, why did God make all these other planets that people can't live on?
I love that question. I'm always reminded, Brandon, on these shows, what I used to tell my students at Mundelein, which was, remember, guys, the simplest questions are always the best in theology. If you kind of rattle off some question with, 8-syllable words and that sort of thing, it might impress academic people, but the really, really good questions are the simple ones. And that's a good example now. So why did God make the planets and the stars and the whole expanse of the universe that we know about? And we live on this little tiny speck of a planet, right? So why would God have done that? Here's a quick answer. The quick answer is, God made the universe in all of its wonder and all of its variety and all of its splendor to show forth his own beauty and glory. See, think of God as beauty itself. God is the best possible reality. So how does God show that? Well, there's no one creature that would reveal the fullness of who God is. No matter how splendid a single creature is, he can't express fully who God is. So God makes more and more and more. And you say, well, how about just, make one species of animals, but just make about 1 million of them? Wouldn't that be enough? No, because that one species couldn't begin to show you the splendor of God. Well, how about make a planet like Earth with all of its variety? Well, no, Earth wouldn't begin to express the fullness of God's splendor. So God makes all of these things, most of which we don't know much about. Think of, 99% of our universe, I don't know much about at all. No one does. But yet God made it, and God continues to keep it in being. Why? To manifest his glory. Think about something else. Right now, there are insects crawling on leaves and tree branches in Mongolia. Right? Right now, there are. Do I know anything about them? No. Do they have anything to do with me? No. Will they ever have anything to do with me? No. But yet, there they are. Now, why? Because in their particular way, they express something of God's goodness and glory. The universe is like that. Think of when you walk along the beach and you see all of these shells that have washed up. They were, once the protective shells of living creatures living at the bottom of the ocean. I mean, we know nothing about them. They have nothing to do with us. And yet there they are. God seems to love this sort of variety, and he loves to make lots and lots and lots of different things, because it it shows forth His beauty. It shows forth His glory. I think that's the best way to answer the question about the planets. That's just one more example of it. Is God made, and again, think of the planets that we know. It's a very teeny, teeny, tiny part of the universe. Think of the billions of planets that we know nothing about. And yet, God made them. God keeps them in existence. So I do it that way. It's God's exuberance. Brandon, you and I, we both love G.K. Chesterton, and he often compares God to a child that way, right? A child is exuberant and loves to, here, tell me that story again, tell it again. Kids love to play in this kind of, maybe it strikes adults as kind of silly, but kids love it because it's fun and it's good. Well, the universe in a way is like that. It's God's exuberant play and the display of His glory. Hope that makes a little bit of sense to you.
All right, next question. We'll keep it in Pennsylvania, and I think we're keeping it in the same family. This is from little Leo. He's 5 years old. He's asking about God's nocturnal habits. Here he is.
Okay.
Hi, Bishop Barron. My name is Leo. I live in Pennsylvania, and I'm 5 years old, and my question is, where does God sleep?
Where does God sleep? What a cool name you have, by the way, Leo. I like that name, the lion. You're a lion. You got to roar and you got to show courage with a name like that. Where's God sleep? Well, think about sleep. First of all, Leo, I love to sleep. I think most people, the end of a long day when you're really tired, it's kind of nice, isn't it, to get in bed and you fall asleep. Or maybe like on a Sunday, if you got nothing else to do in the afternoon, you could actually go in and take a little nap for a half hour. There's something lovely about sleeping. Well, you know why, Leo? It's because we have these bodies that get tired, right? So we make our way through the day and we do this and do that. And especially maybe the end of the day, we've been playing a lot. I remember when I was a kid and I played a lot of baseball and basketball and football. I used to kind of love it at the end of the day after a really long practice or a really hard game or something. And then you felt really tired. And it was kind of lovely to get into bed and then you fall asleep because our bodies need that to get rejuvenated. That's a big word for you, to kind of come back to life again, right? So that's why we like sleep and why sleep is good for us. But now imagine a reality like God who doesn't have a body, see? So God doesn't get tired. God doesn't need to sleep the way we do because He doesn't have a body that gets fatigued. And so God is always awake. And that's another side of it now. God's always watching, knowing, aware of us. God never tires of doing His work. And what's His work is trying to draw us into friendship with Him. God wants us to be His friends. Does that tire Him out? No, never. He doesn't get tired from that. God's work is to love the world and to love it into being and to draw it to Himself. Does He ever get tired? No, He doesn't get tired. There's a great line, Leo, someday you'll read it on your own in the Bible, where it says, that I might run and never grow weary. And now, I bet you feel that way. When I was a little guy, I remember days, like summer days, when I would just be out playing and I would just be running and running and running and running, and I never felt tired. That's wonderful when you're a kid. Is heaven like that, I wonder? Heaven where we can be active and we can do all kinds of fun things and we can accomplish and we're not going to grow tired. That we're not going to need to sleep in heaven. Well, see, God's like that. God does His work all the time, but it just makes Him more energetic. It makes Him more alive. He doesn't feel tired. So I would take a lot of joy in that. Here's a last thought for you. Before you go to sleep at night, because I do this too. As I'm in bed, I'm about to go to sleep, I'll say, Lord, thank you for this day, and I trust you. In other words, like, okay, Lord, I'm checking out now. I'm going to go to sleep, but I trust you're still in charge of the world, and you're still watching over me. And I know you don't go to sleep. So that's really good news.
All right, we'll do the third and final question here from Pennsylvania. Again, I think from the same family. This one comes from James. He's 8 years old, and he's asking about friendships and heaven. Continuing our trend, by the way, we mentioned this in the last Q&A, So many kids fascinated with questions about heaven, hell, death, the afterlife. It's a perennial concern. Here's James's question.
Okay.
Hi, Bishop Barron. I'm James from Pennsylvania, and I'm 8 years old. And my question is, will you have friendships in heaven, and will they be the same as your friendships on earth?
Yeah, boy, great question. You know, I would say in a way, that's all we'll have in heaven. That's what heaven is, in a way, is friendship. See, a friend is someone that you love, right? A friend is someone that you share your life with. And you talk to him or to her, and he talks back to you, and you share your heart and your mind and your interests, right? A friendship draws you out of yourself and your own little world and concerns into someone else's world. And then that person is drawn out of his world into yours. It's like a beautiful exchange, right? So heaven is the life of God. God is love. And so heaven is a place of love. So I think in a way that's all there is in heaven is friendship. Now, you know, here in this life, you're really friends with probably a handful of people, who are really your best friends. And then it's kind of a wider circle of people that, you're kind of friendly with, and then a wider circle that you kind of know. Okay, but in heaven, can we maybe imagine that in heaven we have that kind of intimate friendship with everybody? Because we love them in God and through God and for the sake of God. That the joy of heaven will be this sort of endless friendship. Aren't those in some ways the best moments in life? When you're with your buddy, I don't know, like who's your best friend, but when you're with him and you're playing baseball or something, or you're just hanging around, or you're watching TV together or something, it's just fun. I mean, friendship is wonderful. And whether you're a kid or whether you're 90 years old, believe me, human beings, we all like friendship. And a really good friendship is about the best thing in life. Think of, mom and dad. Well, marriage is just a kind of very intense form of friendship, isn't it? Heaven is that all the time. Heaven is that all the way. Friendship with everybody. So your other part of your question was, will they be the same as our friendships here? No, they'll be better. See, here, as I said, we can just be friends with maybe a handful of people. But in heaven, our friendships will be so intense and infinite. And that's why it might take us all of eternity to explore all these friendships. So they'll be better, they'll be more intense, they'll be more joyful than they are here. So think of your friendships now as like a little anticipation of heaven. They'll give you an idea of what heaven is like.
All right, great question, James. We're going to move next to Alice. She's 6 years old, and she has a precocious question about whether God can make a mistake. Here it is.
Hello, Bishop Barron. My name is Alice. I am 6 years old. I'm calling from Poland. My question is, if God can do anything, can he make a mistake?
That is a really good question, and it shows that you are a real theologian, because a lot of the great theologians have asked questions like that. Another way you could ask it is, okay, God can do everything, so can God commit a sin? I can commit a sin, Brandon can commit a sin, and so why can't God? God can do everything. So, hey, I make mistakes, Brandon makes mistakes, well then why can't God make a mistake? Well, here's the answer, and it's a little tricky, but it's an important question and answer. A mistake or a sin, that's not a thing. That's like a no thing. Does that make sense? It's like a nothing. So a mistake, like I say, 2 + 2 = 6. No, that's not right. See, that's not the way things really are. Or when I commit a sin, I'm doing something that I shouldn't do. No, that you shouldn't be doing something like that. It's against who you are, right? Well, God can't do that. But that's not to say that God has a limit. It means that God can't experience that sort of negation of who he is. God can't do those sort of non-being things. So you say, okay, God's all powerful. Why couldn't God make 2 + 2 = 6? Well, no, because that's just like a nothing. 2 + 2 doesn't equal 6. That's a nothing. So God can't do that, but that's no limit on God. That just means that God is above that sort of mistake that we can make. So God can do anything. Yes, that's true. God can do everything, right? But notice what I just said. Everything. God can do anything. What he can't do is a nothing. And that's a mistake or a sin, is like a nothing. But that's a really cool question. And believe me, a lot of smart people have kind of wrestled with that very question you just asked. So you're a good theologian.
Yeah, you see it especially among high schoolers, college students trying to play language games undermining God. The common one I'll hear all the time is, can God make a rock so heavy that even he can't lift? But as you say, that's like a no thing. That's logically contradictory. There's no such thing as a rock so big that God can't lift.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Okay, let's move from the philosopher Alice to the philosopher Ashlyn. She's 10 years old, and again, these young girls seem like they're cut from the same cloth as Thomas Aquinas, because she's got some really thoughtful questions about angels, spirits, and supreme beings. So here's her question.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Ashlyn Kuklika. I am 10 years old, and I am from New Concord, Ohio. I have 2 questions. My first one is if an angel is a spirit or a soul. And my second one is if there could be 2 supreme beings. Thank you.
Good. Excellent question. Yeah, you guys you're real theologians. I love that. And don't let anyone ever say to you, oh, those are, dumb questions, or don't ask those. No, those are great questions. And they're, again, some of the smartest people in our tradition, believe me, have wrestled with those very questions. So the first one about angels, is an angel a spirit or a soul? An angel is a spirit. Now that just means an angel is a creature, right, made by God, but an angel is a pure spirit. It means an angel doesn't have a body. So you and I are a combination of spirit and body. So we're bodies, but there's a soul, we say, that animates, that enlivens our body, right? So we're kind of a coming together of spiritual and material. An angel is a pure spirit. Now, I like your distinction there between a spirit and a soul, because it sheds some light. So I just said that I'm, for example, a combination of soul and body, which means that when my body dies, my soul continues to exist, right? That means my ability to think and to will and to relate. Now, is my soul, when it's separated from my body, happy? Not perfectly, no, because my soul is meant for my body. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a soul that just happens to have a body. No, I'm a body and soul. And so we believe, for example, that through God's providence, my soul will be reunited to my body. Now, in a higher way, in a way that we can't entirely understand now, but the soul is meant for the body. But see, an angel is not like that. An angel wasn't meant for a body. An angel doesn't have a body. An angel is, from the beginning of its existence, a pure spirit. So that would be the distinction I'd make there. Your second question is really cool and very interesting. Can there be 2 supreme beings? And I might get a little subtle here, but you asked a good subtle question. Can there be, for example, 2 planets in our solar system that are exactly the same size? Yeah. I mean, in fact, aren't like Jupiter and Saturn are close to the same size, I think, right? Brandon, you know more about that than I do. I think Jupiter's bigger, right? But could there be, for example, another Jupiter? There'd just be 2 Jupiters in our solar system. And you'd say, hey, actually there are 2 supreme planets in our solar system. Yeah, sure, that's possible, But see, God is not a supreme being in that sense. So there's myself, there's Brandon, there's all these questioners, there's the planet Jupiter, there's God. Well, no, that's not the right way to think about God. Rather, we say that God is infinite. It's a cool little word, isn't it? Infinite. Finis in Latin means end, or like border. If you have like a border around something, that's the finis. So if God is infinite, that means he doesn't have a border, doesn't have a limit. Nothing stops the divine being. we see there can't be two infinite realities. Does that make sense? There can be two planet Jupiters the same size. There could be two, let's say two galaxies are exactly the same size. Okay, but there can't be two infinites. So in that sense, no, there can't be two gods. That's why we say we believe in one God. So there can't be two infinite realities. So I got a little philosophical there, but that was a philosophical question. And again, I find, Brandon, I don't know if you do with your kids, that kids naturally ask philosophical questions. And we tend to say, oh, well, come on, that's sort of silly, or no one knows the answer to that. Well, no, I think we should encourage kids to ask philosophical questions.
I think part of the problem is when a lot of kids get to school, education immediately takes a pragmatic turn. And it's less and less about the big questions and the metaphysical questions, and more like, what do I need to know to learn specific skills to get a specific job or make it through this specific program? And those little philosophical questions fade in importance. But we've tried in our family, and I know a lot of parents now are trying to revive that in their kids and to encourage the big speculative metaphysical questions, because those are not just the best ones, but the most important ones. I want my kids to keep asking those as they get older. All right, next up we're going to turn to Cecilia, 11 years old. She's in Massachusetts, and she's got a question about God and the devil. Here it is.
Hi, Bishop Barron. My name is Cecilia. I'm 11 years old, and I live in Massachusetts. When Jesus was in the wilderness, he was tempted by the devil. I would like to know, why would God allow the devil to exist? Thank you for your time.
Wow, great question. I like the fact that you used the word allow. That's the right word. So people say, how come God created the devil? Well, God didn't create the devil, meaning God didn't create an evil being. God permits evil, we say, to bring about some greater good. So let's look at the devil. We just talked about angels, right? An angel's a pure spirit. Are there good angels? Yeah. And are there fallen angels? Just as are there good human beings and fallen human beings? Yeah. Some angels rebelled against God. They turned to themselves and against God. So we call those devils. They're fallen spirits. Did God cause them to fall? No. Their own freedom caused them to fall, right? God gives us and angels freedom. We can say yes or no, because God doesn't want puppets. He doesn't want just marionettes that he manipulates. He wants us to enter into a personal, mature relationship with him. So he gives us freedom. Freedom can be abused, right? So a devil is a fallen angel. So it's good. Why did God permit that? Well, you might say because he permits freedom. He wants us to be free. And so if you permit freedom, you have to allow for the possibility of freedom being abused. And that's a devil. Now, take it a step further. Having seen now the fall of the angels, devils have now emerged, can God, as it were, use them for his purposes? Yeah. Can they become part of God's purpose and plan? Think, for example, we say, as your example of Jesus himself, what the devils usually do is they tempt us, right? They try to draw us into their rebellion. And you know what's interesting about that is we see it with human beings all the time, don't we? When someone has sort of fallen into a bad pattern of life, they become a bad sinner. What's one thing they often want to do is draw other people into that, right? Hey, come on, you try it. Oh, come on, everyone's doing it. You know, evil in a way loves company. It wants to draw people in. So these higher spiritual realities, the devils, also want to draw us into their rebellion. We call that temptation. Can God use that? Yeah, it seems to me. And all the great saints will say this, because it's in fighting off temptation that we can come to greater spiritual maturity. Just like if you're playing baseball or something, and it's during a tough game, or it's when you're up against a really tough opponent that your skills get better, right? If you're a basketball player and you're always playing kids who are not as good as you are, you're never going to get better. It's in that sort of competition that you get better. It's an analogy. But in the spiritual order, sometimes it's by resisting temptation that we become stronger, that we discover really who we are, what we're capable of. So that could be a reason why God permits, how God can even use the rebellion of the devils for his own purpose. Anyway, it's a tough, complicated question, but I just wanted to shed a couple rays of light on it for you.
All right, I think we have time for maybe one more question, and we'll stay in Massachusetts. Okay. Again, I think this is the same family. Cecilia, who was 11 years old, had the last question. I think this one is from her brother, Sebastian, 8 years old. He wants to know why in the world God made people. Here's his question.
Hi, Bishop Barron. My name is Sebastian. I'm 8 years old and I live in Massachusetts. What I wonder about is, what is the point of people? Why did God decide to create us? Thank you for your attention.
Love that question. And what a cool name you have too, Saint Sebastian. That's still the most popular confirmation name when I confirm people out here for the boys. Sebastian for the Spanish speakers is the most popular name because he was the soldier saint, right? Anyway, I love that question because it's very simple and it's very profound. Why did God bother making us? So, isn't God perfectly happy in himself? Yeah, he is. Does God need us? No, he does not need us. Does God need anything in the universe? No, he doesn't. God is perfectly happy in himself. So why does God bother making anything at all? See, that's a really interesting question. What's the answer? I've already said it really, but God creates so as to share and make known his glory. God's goodness is so intense, if you want, that it bubbles over. God wants to share his goodness and life and beauty with others. So it's not out of need. God doesn't need you or me or anything or anybody. But he loves us into being. He wants not his own good. He doesn't need anything. He wants our good, right? He makes us so that we can participate in the beauty and goodness that he has. So that's why he made us. It's out of love, not out of need. Another way to look at it, God delights in finding new friends. So in a way, so God made animals and he made insects and he made the trees and he made the planets because they all manifest something of his goodness. But why did he make us? That means people that have minds and wills and freedom, because he likes friends. He likes people that enter into friendship with him. So God delights in our embrace of his invitation, you know? Here's a way maybe to sum all this up. When you're in a really good mood, right? Things are really going well, you're really happy. Do you tend to stay in your room and close the door? No, at least for me, when I'm in a really good mood, I kind of get bubbly and I sort of want to see people and I get more expressive and more outgoing. And it's often when I'm in a bad mood, right, that I might want to kind of withdraw and close the door and I don't want to deal with people. Well, think of God is always in a good mood. God is always in a good mood. And so he's always bubbling over. And he always wants more and more to share his life. That's why he made you. So that you could enjoy him. So you could have the great happiness of a friendship with him. Does that make sense?
It does. And I want to thank all of the kids that sent in questions. Super fascinating, thoughtful, really profound questions. We really appreciate them. Again, if you have questions, if you're a kid, ask your parent to help you record a question for Bishop Barron. You can do it at askbishopbarron.com. That's the website. You can record your question. Again, we've got a ton. We're trying to work through them, so forgive us if we haven't gotten to your question yet, but we're trying to get through as many as we can. We'll be doing more of these Kids Q&A episodes soon. Well, before we go, a couple things. First, I wanted to give a special shout out to some of our special Patreon supporters. These are people that believe in this podcast and this show enough to support it through monthly donations. For, in particular, David Richter, David Ty Sweeney, Ken Reeb Jr., and Linda Gardner have stepped up in major ways to help make this show a success. So Thank you guys. Thank you to all of our other patrons. If you want to join them, just visit wordonfireshow.com/patron. You can join them in helping to spread this show to more people. And then finally, please check out the new Sacraments Film and Study program from Bishop Barron. You can learn more at wordonfireshow.com/sacraments. But I want to echo something I said at the beginning of the episode, which is that at this time when so many parishioners are locked down, they're quarantined in their homes, they can't come to parishes, if you work at a parish, maybe you're a staff member, maybe you're the pastor, the priest at the parish, consider our Engage platform, engage.wordonfire.org. When you sign up, we give you email courses, text messaging courses that you can send to all your parishioners, but they also get full access to all of our streaming films and study programs, including this one, this new Sacrament Study program. So all your parishioners can start watching it at home immediately. So check it out, engage.wordonfire.org. Well, thanks again for listening. We'll see you guys next week on the Word on Fire show.
Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, I encourage you to share it and be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel.